What's up, Patreon? This is just us today. So, this is it. It's you. It's me. You know what? Let me put on this song for us, dude. Just because, you know, we just keep listening to it, so. That's that shine right there, boy. And that's that hitter, huh? And that's that shine, man. You know that song. I didn't even keep it going there for you, but yeah, that song's kind of become a little bit of a staple recently. And you know what I'm noticing is interesting. Thank you guys for being here with me. Thanks for being here, Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. Pretty cool that we're going to start, you know, being able to do some stuff, get some single moms out, maybe some, you know, we had a guy who emailed the other day. He's like, what about the single dads, bruh? And I'm like, that's a good point. A lot of everybody, you know, there's lonesome roads on both sides of the, gene pool, you know, so they got men and women that's, you know, have children and are also, you know, sitting at home and, you know, sneaking out on the porch and having a cigarette at night after the kids are asleep and like making a lot of macaroni and, you know, regular activities like that single parents do. A lot of, what did we always have growing up? What was that thing? It was like a can of like little bitty pieces of fruit, you know? And it was like little fruits. And they had a whole can of it. And it had that syrup in it. And then, and sometimes you would just crack that fucking can and drink that syrup in your eye. You would almost faint. It was so much sugar at one time. And they had like a little chunk of cherry hidden in there. It was fruit cocktail. Dude, fruit cocktail? I mean, that was like a steak when I was growing up. Boy, if you got that can of fruit cock. And my uncle, who I think ended up probably being pedophile, he would call it fruit cock all the time. And so that's kind of shady when you think about it, to be, you know, hanging out with kids and then being like, hey, who wants some of this fruit cock? You know, that's like, I think some things are safe to abbreviate around children. I don't think fruit cocktail. He could have said fruit tail, but that's also kind of kind of seedy. So anyhow, I think it was tough having, you know, an uncle and also eating fruit cocktail in the same room. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, man, that was that beautiful treat when you got that fruit cocktail and they had that. And the cherry, the little chunk of cherry in there always looked like it had been mistreated, you know? Because you would see like a regular cherry and it's like bright red. And then you would get like the maraschino cherry, like a regular cherry is like blood red. If you get one from like Washington, you know, in the summertime, you get that, you know, that thing, it looks like somebody just leaked your veins all over the street. I mean, that thing looks just electric. That thing looks magnetic. And you can hear them next door. You might, if you hear some people being loud, that's just next door. They got another podcast going on. So that's wild. But you with that cherry, a regular cherry, you get that big verbose, that veiny, you know, looks like a gonad or a testicle off of a fucking, you know, like a Dalmatian or something, but somebody painted it red. You know, a regular cherry looks real beautiful and hearty. Looks like an apple. Looks like just like an apple hanging off of somebody's dick, kind of. But then there's definitely grades of cherries, because then you get to that other, what's that other cherry they got? Oh, then you get like a maraschino. And maraschino cherries, they taste like they've been dead, like they got embalmed. You know what I'm talking about? Like a maraschino cherry, you're like, damn, did this thing, when was the wake? You know, like, is this, I thought, man, I guess they didn't cremate, you know, Chuck Cherry or whoever this little cherry's name was. Maraschinos don't even taste like cherries. They taste like, it almost tastes like drugs or something, like a little hit of dope or something you put in your face. And then when you go further down the cherry, you know, into the you know, you go into the depths of cherrydom. You go into the hood. You know, you go into the, you know, into the middle earth of cherries, and you got some real seedy pieces down there. And that is the type of cherries you get over with fruit cock. When you get that dish of fruit cock, and they got that one cherry, and that thing looks almost, kind of looks a little bit more orange. You know, or pink. It doesn't look red for sure. I mean, let's be real. Red is red. And then you get that little pink. It looks like a little piece of appendectomy that somebody threw into a bowl of fruit. You know, it just looks weathered. It looks like it was on it used to work on a fishing boat and was supposed to come back after 3 months, but stayed out 6 months because it had like a drug problem. And people were doing drugs on a boat, even though it seems like it's hard to do because you got to keep drugs dry. You know, a lot of dust, methamphetamine, all of that, you got to keep that shit dry. So you don't see a lot of people doing cocaine in like a waterfall, because you got to keep it dry. So if you're out on that boat, you can't keep cocaine and drugs dry easily. But yeah, that little piece of cherry just looks like it had a long time. Like it's been on, it's had a couple of families, and it was, it's probably, it probably had to live in a halfway house, with a couple of dirty slices of lemon or something. So you start to see these, those chunks of cherry in that fruit cup, and that you start to see that there's different levels of cherry in the world. Fuck, I don't even know what we're talking about, man, but who cares, right? Who cares sometimes? Who cares sometimes what we're talking about? As long as we're not just talking about the same stuff, dude. If I get into, I can't, I think I start to think that, like, maybe we're evolving out of these times where I start to hope that we're starting to evolve out of these times where, like, boring, like safe, regular, boring conversation has any value to us. I think it's why I see a lot of people leaning away from like overly produced and Hollywood type television and leaning more into podcasts and more into, just watching, black women fight in parking lots and just real videos you can see on YouTube and stuff like that. Watching a white kid like trying to jump off his roof in Steubenville, Ohio, and they die every time. But I think we're getting more into, we just want to see something real. We don't care if it's just so overly produced in Hollywood these days that we just want something a little bit more real. And that's what I find myself wanting. So I start to hope as a species and as a humans that we're getting more towards that. I want something real. I just want to know that the person that I'm listening to is, they can be entertaining, but I don't want it to be that they're just serving me something because, there's an advertising agent sitting right off the side of the set, monitoring everything that they can say. And that's why I listen to podcasts, and that's why I go to stand-up comedy shows, and that's why, the more I think about it, that's probably where I ended up into the vein of work that I ended up in. But what else, man? What was that? Man, my train of thought has flat tires today. I can't even get out the station. But excuse me, I start to think that, will we evolve out of like, you had this, excuse me, I got a little bit of, chest gas because I had some orange juice this morning. And fresh orange juice, I'll say this, fresh orange juice, that shit is good, man. And, you think when you look at an orange, bro, some fruits you look at them, you're like, I don't know. Like a kiwi. Dude, a kiwi tries to blend in with like an animal. If you see a kiwi next to like a little squirrel or a little stack of kiwis, next to a couple of, 6 or 8 newborn squirrels from far away, you can't even tell the difference. You're like, oh, is that, can I eat that? What is that? What could be in there? So that's a confusing fruit. It's trying to hide. That's more of a hide and go fruit. But you see a friggin' orange with that big old, just look like just that big citrus titty just hanging out in front of your face, boy. An orange looks like it's offering you something, it wants you in there. Get in there. Like a pear, you don't know. A pear looks like it's trying to, a pear looks almost, a lot of pears are shaped kind of like grandparents too, if you look at them. Like especially like a grandmother. A pear almost seems like a senior citizen type fruit. I think that's why there's something about pears that young people are like, I don't want to, be a pervert and be, tasting this thing too heavily. So some fruits, they advertise differently to you. But that orange, boy, you see it, just that bright color, it attracts your eye. A kiwi, you can't find a kiwi from 30 feet in a pile of leaves. Good fucking luck, dude. Good fucking luck trying to spot a kiwi from 30 feet in the woods. Psh, never, dude. I'll give you 700 chances, and you know how many times you'll do them? Never chances. But you see an orange, that thing, you could see an orange from fucking probably about 200, maybe 30 feet away. You could see an orange. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's an orange. And you know that, and it just, and when you see that there's something good in there inside of that thing for you. It entices you. And some fruits are like that. Lemon say, come get over in here, but then lemon surprise you and say, no thanks once you taste it. A lemon, when you taste a lemon, it acts like it's trying to taste you. You notice that? Like, damn, what did I do to this thing? Lemons, they wild, man. They're kind of like, the Italian women of fruit. You try to get in there and taste them, and they'll taste you right back. They're like Puerto Rican women. They'll check you. They'll check you out the gate. But then at the same time, they're a beautiful treat from the heavens, And some fruits is just different. You have different experiences with different fruits, I find. Or I have over the years. Bananas have kind of become like the sluts of fruit. Bananas are everywhere. Oh, what is that? Banana pie, banana steaks, banana, oh, you got 2 bananas. You know what I'm saying? Bananas, somebody just slamming one down their throat. You'll see a lady at a ballpark or something break off half a banana for a little kid that she shouldn't be talking to. I mean, bananas, anybody could have them, they're everywhere. Sometimes you'll see, if you're in a different area, Galapagos area, or maybe over in, outside of Naples, away from the senior citizens, outside of Naples, Florida, you'll see a lot of, you'll see just a bunch of bananas on the roadside rotting. Because that's bananas. They don't give a fuck, bruh. Bananas, they'll fuck with anybody. They don't give a shit, dude. They don't care. Just like, come and get me. And they're not even trying to hide, dude. You could get, a baby, a 2-year-old could get into a banana if he's got strong wrists. A banana doesn't even try to hide from you. An orange, and an orange will spray into your eye. You're like, fuck, this thing's fighting back. But a banana, you could just, anybody get up in that little bitch, Sometimes you'll go in somebody's bedroom and they'll have a banana peel by the bed. They had one. You fucking throw the banana casserole, banana sundaes, banana splits. Hey, cut me in half and put whatever you want between my legs. Come on. Bananas are they naughty, bruh. They naughty. And if you don't think bananas are naughty, then you don't think. Man. Think about that fruit just hanging. An orange is in the tree. Bananas are hanging. It almost looks like a hand, like it's reaching for your nuts or whatever. If you see a flock of bananas together, it look like a hand. Like a yellow or green hand, and it's just kind of reaching for your nuts or breast meat or whatever. They are naughty. Let's be honest. Bananas, real, just straight up perverts of produce. Gang. So, I don't know why I got talking about all this fruits today. Man, look, in the studio, you guys can't tell, but I got some vines, some vine plants, and we got to start taking better care of them. So I'm talking to our producer, Nick. We're trying to come up with a plan because these things are, they're limited. And I think the biggest thing is we don't have any light because they don't have any natural light in the studio. So we got to go get these different little glow sticks. You almost need a couple of fucking dudes, who do ecstasy a lot just to fucking come in here at night and just glow stick these plants up. Like, that's when you got money. when you don't even have to have like a light on your plants at night. If you have like a grow house or a plant aquarium, you don't have to do all that. You get fucking just two geeked out, you know, just straight up bangers, just all loked out, and you get them just spinning glow sticks. They keyed up in their jaw on about 9 grams of ecstasy, and you get them keyed out, just keeping your plants alive with them glow sticks, bro. That's danger. That's Danger Bay. That's, you know, and if you don't know where Danger Bay is, look it up on a map. There's about 9 of them around America. Isn't that crazy? America's supposed to be a safe place, and they got 9 places called Danger Bay. How many dead man's curves are in America? Anybody thought about that? I don't know. Maybe 600? What the fuck, bruh? How does every town have a dead man's curve? Straighten out your curves. People are dying. It's obvious, dude. Look at the title of it. So, I don't know. I don't know. Man, we got to do an unboxing soon. We've had there's like 8 packages that are just sitting in here in the studio, and I got to look through them one of these days and get into some of this. Get in there! And get into some of this stuff that people have been sending in. But man, Patreoners, I'm grateful to you guys. You know, you guys have been keeping this show afloat. I mean, I never realized how hard it is to get a podcast and get it popping and get it rocking and pop, lock, and dropping. I mean, and then to get it going, you have to have support. And that's been you guys. You know, that's been you guys. People dropping that cash, throwing it out there. You know, being supportive. Alaskan Rock Vodka, man. Those guys, I don't even know who they are. I've never even been to Alaska. I've rocked some vodka, but that's the closest I am to them. But that's a company that's helped out every month on Patreon and Patreon. And this has just been a fun experience so far. What else? Oh, I was on Eddie Bravo. They have this tinfoil hat podcast I went on. And those guys talk about conspiracies. I'm talking the darkest of arts. Things I never even thought of. Magnesium in the air and like bullets made out of, bullets that already have like DNA built into them. So when it hits somebody or gets tested, it comes back a certain, it's unique, man. Those guys are out there. They juggling a lot of dirty theories. You feel me? They got some wildness in them. But we did that. I did that podcast the other day, and that was pretty fun. And what else, man? Oh, excited! I got some new cool tour dates coming. You guys know about those. I don't want to do any kind of advertising stuff or anything on this Patreon episode. I just want to get to spend some time together. Oh, we're going to talk to Trick Long Mickey. So we made a donation out of Patreon, made a donation to him for $250. Finally got that done like 2 nights ago. And so we donated that money to him on behalf of us, not me. We donated it to him, and he's doing well, man. Let me hear. I'll read you a couple of texts I'll read you a text that he sent me. Oh, my phone died. But he said the other day, I said, how them new hitters, man? He said 10 out of 10 he's breathing. He said he's ready. He's taking on smog, everything. He said he hates his mother's cooking already again that fast. We're adapters. We'll adapt to anything. You put a heavy rock on somebody's back. They're going to be pissed for about an hour and a half, dude. After that, that's Terry Rockback. And he'll figure it out. You know, he'll have to eat, what he can catch with his tongue because he can't move far, but you'll adapt. We're adapters. You see a man digging in a dumpster and you'll think, fuck, how could that guy do that? And he once looked at people and said, how could that guy do that? He once looked at a person digging in a dumpster and thought that. We're adapters. We'll adapt. What is it? Cut off your arm. You know what I'm saying? Cut off your arm and tape it inside of your back. Tape it to the middle of your back. Now what? We'll see. You'll adapt, whatever it is. You think you'll never be digging out of a dumpster. Next thing you know, It's like, oh, I know. After probably 2 months of eating out of a dumpster, you know where the food is. You could smell when something is okay for you to eat or not okay. And that's, man, there's something else going on here. It's amazing how much we can adapt. I think we forget that. We forget that sometimes. Like, we will be okay. That the people of before us have been okay. That we'll survive. What else? Oh, I'm going to my high school graduation this weekend. It's graduation return or whatever, re-graduation, 20 year. So everybody going to be out there. Some people anyway. A lot of people aren't even going. And I wasn't going to go, actually. I got offered to be on the, Joey Diaz asked me to be on a comedy show on Saturday night with him and Joe Rogan's. And I'm like, fuck, I would like to do that. I mean, those are two legends, bruh. Those are living legends, bruh. Legends that are still waking up and eating cereal every day. Or whatever. Joe probably has like deer meat cereal, and who knows? I don't know. Joey might, who knows? But they have, those are legends. Those are people in the top of my comedy world. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want to go. I didn't want to go home. I was changing my trip. I'll go to the comedy show. But then I thought more about it, and it was just like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go back to the reunion. I'm going to experience some of the nostalgia. Maybe there's somebody going that's excited about seeing me. Not in an ego way. Not like a comedy, somebody who likes comedy or something like that, but just, maybe there's somebody who I had an experience with in high school that, they're like, oh man, remember this. And if I'm not there, they don't get to tell me that. Remember when we did this? And then I don't get that joy of being like, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I don't get that joy. And they don't get that joy. And just what I'm thinking is, it's like, you don't know when you're going to be the cog in somebody else's joy. You don't know. And I think about that a lot, man. Look, I get edgy, I get agitated, I do, but what I do find is, as I've gotten, really, I think, honestly, probably since I got sober and since I started this podcast, I've found that I get going a lot more than I used to. And it's not really for me as much. Like, it definitely helps me to go. I want to go to this high school reunion, and do the, whatever it is of, what is it called when you do something in a room somewhere, but you shouldn't be doing it, and other people pretend like it's okay? Karaoke. I want to do, go do that kind of stuff. But I just don't know, but here's what I'm saying is, you just don't know when by you showing up, you might complete like a piece of a moment of a puzzle, and then the puzzle is great. And it's great for everybody. It's great for you. It's great for other people. And you needed to be there. You needed to be there. Like, well, maybe I'll see two people at the reunions, and they don't, and suddenly we'll all be like, oh, fuck, remember that? Remember when somebody fucking, burnt their eyebrows off? Trying to, put just straight gasoline into a fire out of a gas can. As somebody in every high school did that. Oh, I'll just take the gas can right above the fire and pour the gas into it. Bang. Unconscious friend. So, but you don't know unless you all three see each other if you'll have that moment. And you don't know about that every day. It's like, yeah, you might not be feeling that great, but you don't know if you get up and go, the opportunity that you might serve in somebody else's life or somebody else's joy. And if you're not feeling good, then they might be able to serve you by lifting you up. And it's crazy because I used to never think that way. I used to just be so trapped and just scared into my own world. And then now it's like I want to be, more often than not, I want to be awake. I want to be around. I want to be able to, either experience joy myself or to be in a way of service to hopefully bring some joy to somebody else, man. Because sometimes it's just you being there. You know, you don't know sometimes if, say you're somewhere and you're doing something. You know, you might be somewhere and you might, you know, give your mom a hug, or you might, you know, wipe your kid's face with a wet cloth, or you might, you know, you might help an old woman stand up who's been sitting on a park bench. Or you might pick up trash just randomly, it's on the street, and just throw it away. And you never know, like, if there's people standing around or standing in the distance and they see just a moment. You know, they see a moment and maybe they're having a shit day, and they just think the world is just, you know, the world is just all just little bitty pink cherries, and none of the cherries are red anymore. And all the cherries have been out, you know, smoking meth out on you know, fishing boats and stuff, and lying to their wives. But then they see that, and then next thing you know, it just gives them, it takes that edge off of them. You know, it just takes them, it takes them out of whatever that, you know, they might have been in Dante's sixth circle, and now you just moved them up to the fourth, and they're not as deep. That's the thing. You just never know. We never know when we're, you know, when we're taking care of ourselves and being out in the world and connecting with others. We don't know what those things can serve. You know, because the dark arts is when we get caught up, when we get stuck, when we get lodged. You know, when we stay inside and let that moss of depression and pain and shame, that stuff grows on itself. So you stay in and you stay depressed, that stuff gets stronger and stronger. And I'm not preaching at you, man. I'm saying this because I need to hear it. Because it's you know, all it takes is a couple of tough afternoons, and when I want to turn, you know, when I want to put snooze on that alarm clock 5 times, and the next thing you know, it's 6 p.m. or it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and my day's gone. Because for some reason I'm not feeling good about myself, but whatever. I don't know why I went off onto that. What else? You know, I think about moving to Nashville sometimes. And a lot of people in Hollywood start moving over to Nashville. And also because Hollywood, you know, Hollywood is very exciting. Some of the most exciting people I know are here and live here, and it's great. But it definitely has a cold vibe in it. You know, it's got that, it's got a cold, it's like somebody just, it's always like somebody put an ice cube down the back of your shirt. You know, it's just, and it's just greed. It's just so much greed here. But then there's so much greatness. And I guess that's the risk you got to walk along the cauldron sometimes if you want to smell the soup. You got to walk along that cauldron if you want to smell that soup. And that's what I'm feeling out here. Is like, yeah, there's all this shit, but then there's always excitement. I'll say that. There's always excitement. You get a moment where you get to meet a celebrity, or, not a celebrity, but somebody that you've always admired their work. That's pretty neat. Even just last night, I'm watching, I'm talking to Joey Diaz, and he's a comedian. And most of you guys probably know him, and maybe you don't. If you don't, go see this wild animal. There's nothing like it. It's like somebody's just dancing on the moon. And I saw him, and he just boosted my spirits. But if I don't live in LA, then I don't see that. And I know we all have to find our own little excitements, but I guess I'm just saying those are one of the things I'm starting to notice about Los Angeles, is that it does have excitement. There is a lot of excitement. You can, in a moment, you can be, working with somebody that you really admire, with somebody whose skills you really, really admire. And that's pretty neat. It's pretty neat to have that opportunity. So that's what I guess is here, is the opportunity for more unique excitement than you might get in some other places. In some more subdued or, just smaller cities in America. But then when you get in those cities, man, you get different regular stuff. You might know people that work at the fire department. Like, that's the thing. There's no sense of community in LA. People's neighbors, nobody knows their neighbors. They're just thinking, only time you go talk to your neighbor, see your neighbors when there's an earthquake and you meet out in the street. and you see each other's dicks for a minute in the street, you know, or you don't see each other's dicks and you just, you know, be cool and everything. But yeah, that's the only time I ever even see any neighbors is when there's a earthquake in the middle of the night and everybody gets scared and runs outside. And then, you know, you might see one dude like ran out with some chick and you're like, fuck, y'all fucking, you know, it's always a surprising group out there. Then there's always some dude who comes out into the street like 30 minutes late after the biggest, you know, ripple of the earthquake. And you're like, what the fuck? Man, Daniel would be dead, you know, if this thing went off. You know, there's always that person that's like 30 minutes late for their own safety. And that's what you see sometimes with the earthquake thing, you know, because the earthquake will happen, there'll be a really strong shake and you get scared and you go outside. And they say like you're supposed to stand in the doorway of a building. How about this? Also, go outside and don't be in a building at all. Anybody thought of that shit? Way better idea. Because you know what's not going to fall on you if you're in a building? A building. If you're not in a building, bro, no buildings are going to fall on you probably. Unless you're standing right next to a building like in a Tom and Jerry sketch or something, like a fucking idiot. So, praise God, brother. What else? I don't even know what I was talking about. But yeah, I think about going and living in Nashville, man. And they got them beautiful hills out there and them rolling hills. And that's a special place, you know, in a special area out there. And they got them beautiful rolling hills out there. And what else do they have? They have, you know, they got country music and they have, and not just country. People always say country, but country's kind of morphed also into like more pop. It's more pop country these days. And I'm wondering, I'm starting to think that there's going to be a revival soon of the blues. You know, because, you know, I think, you know, people have had a lot of blues over the past few years. I think there's been a good bit of it. You know, with a lot of these, you know, you see these people shooting up schools and, you know, cafeteria workers fucking gambling online and touching kids and, you know, kids don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. And you start to see this me generation and all this and how we're all just becoming like kind of unfortunately consumed, almost forcefully consumed by ourselves. You know, it's like they've taken our ego and put it onto these tablets and these platforms where we have to look at it, and it's scaring us, I think, sometimes. And it's doing things to us we don't know yet. So I think it takes a beat like that in time for then the blues to kind of pop out. You know, it takes a beat like that in time for then, you know, for art to come out of something. Because even a baby, if you get that, you know, if an egg catches some nut and they get a baby, it's still 9 months of buildup before you see the art. And I think that's what you're seeing right now in America. You know, I think that's what's going to be happening in the world is that there's going to be some art that's going to pop out of some of this stuff. And it's going to be beautiful because with the blues comes the jazz. You know, blues is just the back half. It's one ass cheek, and that other ass cheek is jazz. And if you put them together, bro, that's the shit. You feel me? That's the shit. And so I think you get, you know, with one you get together. But I think we're going to start to see a lot of really neat things come out of this time, and a lot of excitement too. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff going on out in the world. Everybody thinks it's all hateful and stuff. I don't see as much of that. If I shut off the televisions and I shut off the news, then I don't see that. The news, you lose, bruh. That's what I say. The news, you lose. That's bullshit. People sitting glued to some news channel. You're a victim then. What are you, just living in victimhood? What's going on in your actual life? Because if you're just taking stuff from the news and then arguing about it with people, then you're just a messenger. You're just a little Icarus, bruh. If you're just taking stuff from the news, whatever you hear, what they tell you, and then you're going to use it over here to form an argument based on this thing that's bought and paid for by advertising? Come on. Bro, I'm dumb, and even I know that that's a bad idea. That's crazy. You want real information? Go to people and listen to people that you like and that you trust. That you trust, actually. And listen to them. You know, and that's why I go to, I find people that, and I take from people that I know that their heart is in a good place. You could see some of these muppets don't give a fuck about humanity, really. They do in this hypothetical situation, but none of them have ever even lived in a real place. Half of these mookity mooks, dude, they spent their whole life raised up in fancy places and fancy schools in these big cities in Los Angeles, New York's, Boston. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those cities, but I'm just saying if you haven't been in you haven't lived in a real place. You haven't lived like most of us have lived in America. So it just gets, that shit makes me mad sometimes. When people telling us, when people are telling us their ideas, but solely ideas that fit to make their advertisers feel comfortable. And some people, we could say, well, what about podcasts? Well, they do that on podcasts? You guys have advertisers. Yeah, we do. But I'll be damned if any of them are going to tell me anything to say or think. I'll be damned. I'll take my own chances with my own ideas. Because I'm okay to be wrong. Fuck, I'm probably wrong right now. Guess what? We're both okay. I don't like some of these people, especially like rich people, telling me the way to live or telling me what life is like. Man, you don't fucking know. Where have you ever done anything for yourself that wasn't given to you? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. And if you're elite, you got, tons of money. You know what you are now? At a certain point, you get disconnected. You got to stay. It's a lot of these comedy acts that go around and they only do all of these huge theater and they only do this and that. You're not connected. You're disconnected. You got to stay connected to humans, to the people. That's what we're here for. I want to be out there. I want to see these real moments. I want to know what's going on. I want to see the look in somebody's eyes. And that's where everything changes. All these social justice warriors on the internets and shit like that. Some of that, and we all fall into it. I'm not saying that I don't. We all fall into it sometimes. We want to have our voice heard. But even more, I think we want to have our feelings felt. And that's what we don't get that much anymore. We don't get our feelings felt. We used to get, when it was just, when our voices were on our expressions and our feelings were in our skin and coming out of our mouth and in our eyes. Our intentions sat right there in our eyes. And people knew what you meant. And they knew immediately if they could trust you or not. And now a lot of it it's hard to get that. It's hard to convey that. But I don't know. I don't know why I got into this now. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I never do. And I don't know why when somebody that's always been comfortable tells me what we all need to be comfortable, suck it in. You feel me? Yeah. I'm out, bruh. Because where does that come from? Does it come from their real feelings? And where were their feelings manufactured? That's what I want to know. Where was your feelings manufactured? Because I don't know. That's what I want to know. Where were your feelings built? Where was your heart built? What built your brain? What built your thoughts? You know, I want to see the born on date on some of this. I want to see the, you know, made in Norfolk, Virginia, or, you know, made in Tupelo, Mississippi, or made in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, made in Appleton, Wisconsin. And that's not me, that's our neighbors, and they're fighting next door. But you know what? Fuck yeah. I love it, dude. I grew up in this apartment we lived in, dude, and the lady next door and her husband, they would be cooking, and they were about, I think each one of them was about 115 years old. And they would cook liver. All they ate was liver. They must have eaten 9 pounds of liver a day. And so we would just smell liver and onions through the vents. Smoked out the whole apartment filled with liver and onion smoke, playing hide and go seek. Dude, the second they would start cooking, bro, especially on a weekend if they were going to make a real hot batch, because they would come through the air vents. And we play hide and go seek, bro. Just like gorillas in the liver mist, just looking for each other and just happening upon some real slutty bananas every now and then. I appreciate you guys, Patreon. I appreciate you guys were doing neat stuff, and I couldn't do it. And when I say we, I mean you and me, man. You know, our goal with Patreon isn't to try and make any money. Our goal is to try and have the ability to do things that are going to benefit people. Will we always live up to that goal? I don't know. But we're going to try. We're just kind of figuring it out, but it's coming along. You know, we're going to pick a couple cities here in this next couple of months, and we're going to do a special night for some single moms, maybe single dad. You know, we can't be leaving them dudes out. So I respect that, and I respect all of you guys so much. You know, the little messages, sometimes I get back to them, sometimes I don't. I try to respond as much as I can on social media to things, but it just, at some points, I honestly would not even have a day. Like literally last night, I think I probably got, and I don't mean this in a braggy way, but I probably got, you know, in 6 hours, I bet I got 240 direct messages from people. Just saying stuff, and I want to reply all the time, but sometimes it's hard. And I don't want to just have somebody reply for me, because then it's, you know, it's not authentic. So some of my problem sometimes is, how do you stay in a place that's authentic when you don't have enough time to be that authentic? So I'm learning as I go, but I'm going to figure it out, man. I'm definitely going to figure it out. This is Patreon only episode. Now, we could release this episode to everybody, but that would be up to you guys. And, you know, I don't know if that would give us, you know, I don't know if that really justifies your Patreoning then. So we'll continue to do what we can for Patreon. And I'm so grateful for you guys, and thank you so much for your support. And that's it, I think. You know, you guys be good to yourselves, because you probably deserve it. I know you guys do. There's no doubt in my mind. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Love you.